A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, a whole lot of stories were told. Seriously, it's hard to keep track of everything in the Star Wars universe. Through films, comic books, TV shows, novels, and much, much more, sorting out what is legend, what is canon, and which stories are told from a certain point of view can be a bit tough. We're here to help you sort through that mess and to stay up to date with what's going on in the galaxy. So sit tight, strap in, grab your favorite co-pilot if you want to, and get ready to make the jump to lightspeed. Ladies, gentlemen, Wookiees of all ages, these are the Holocron Chronicles. Welcome to the Holocron Chronicles. This is episode 15. 15 episodes already. That seems, when I was looking today, I was just like, I didn't know what episode we were, and I was guessing like 13, 14, but I knew we did lucky number 13, but 15 just, it seems like we're hitting a good stride. And of course, I'm joined, as always, by my trusty co-pilot, Charlie Carden. How you doing, Charlie?
What's going on? I'm good, man. Cold snap here in Michigan. Boo! Don't like that at the end of June.
A heat wave up here on the island. It's wild. So I will take a little bit of coolness.
In case you didn't know, everybody, Mark lives on the island where they shot Lost. So he routinely gets chased by the smoke monster and the weird polar bear.
Yes.
Or so he tells us.
The smoke monster is a little different up here because marijuana is legal. It's a different kind of smoke monster.
Same thing in Michigan too.
Different kind of smoke monster, but yeah, it is warm. And for recording, my AC unit's right behind me, so I have to shut that off so I don't get the feedback from that. So it's going to be a sweaty episode. But for this wonderfully sweaty episode, we are joined. That's a weird introduction. I apologize, but I'm just going to roll with it. We're joined by Connor, aka Palpamemes. How you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
You got it.
It's a pleasure. No, I'm
really?
Pumped. Yeah, I'm pumped, man. I love your stuff. And you know what? I'm not even gonna introduce you. You can introduce yourself, maybe. Tell people where I kind of found your Star Wars stuff. So we'll do an introduction first, and then I'm gonna ask you a couple of Star Wars questions. So introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Palpamemes. People call me Palpy or Palpa or many other names that I take offense to, but I make Star Wars content on YouTube. I'm also pretty active on Twitter, and I am a full-on Rey simp. That's kind of my thing, and also a Luke simp. So got a nice batch there, but I've just been making sequel trilogy content. For the most part, I branch out to Mandalorian and obviously the new Star Wars stuff that's coming out, but mostly I think the thing that's kind of more unique about my channel is I'm a huge sequel fan, and I love just making all types of videos on the sequel trilogy. So that's kind of what I do.
That I would definitely say that is unique because that's where a lot of that vitriol drops, which is really unfortunate when you think about poor Kelly Kelly Marie Tran and everything she's been through. So more power to you. Keeping Star Wars moving forward. I like that.
Right.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, there's so much of the cast. I mean, Daisy Ridley, John. Don't even get me started on John Boyega. Like
a Black Stormtrooper. What?
Gosh.
Anyway, we'll get Okiro back on, and he can go on a rant because his Twitter's just fantastic with stuff. But Palpy, so you run your YouTube channel. We're not really afraid to talk about liking the sequels. We've done a few episodes now where we've talked about what we liked, what we didn't like, where we think we could go forward. So we'll probably talk about a little bit of that later. Okay. But first, I want to hear for new Seeker friends, whether you're on this show, Co-op Mode, or Video Game Podcast, or Seeker Friends proper, or Code 47, we always ask people what your geek origin is, and we'll put a little Star Wars twist on it. So if you want to tell us your overall geek origin, Mine's a Star Wars one anyway, so it kind of works. But if if you want to start with the overall geek origin, but also tell us how you got into Star Wars.
Yeah, so 5 years old, I would say, is whenever I really got into it.
Right.
It's funny that you mentioned that because the other day I found an old picture. I was literally 5 years old, five maybe six, of me and my dad's like oversized gray hoodie, and I was dressing up like Anakin. I had the Force FX Anakin Skywalker lightsaber, and I
Nice.
posted that picture of me when I was literally 5 or 6 years old, and then a picture of me that day with my Ray NeoPixel lightsaber right there, and it's like, I've aged 15, 16 years, however it would be, and nothing has changed. So yeah, my first major Star Wars experience was Revenge of the Sith. It was the first movie I ever saw in theaters, and so
Wow.
it just holds a very special place in my heart, and I have a ton of nostalgia for it. I don't think the movie's perfect. I have plenty of problems with the movies now that I'm kind of grown up, but I still absolutely love them. And then Battlefront 2 and 1, those games, those were my babies. Those were my childhood. I have so many memories of playing that, and that's what really got me into Star Wars. And
Okay.
it's funny because back then it's like I never in a million years would I have thought that I would be, making content and whatnot for it, and being so, I would say, obsessed with it as I am now. Not in a negative way, but it's kind of like my life now. It's kind of what I'm all about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. I'd say the prequels, that was what started me on this journey of being a nerd, and I'm proud of it.
All right. I love
You
it.
know,
I love it.
Definitely, and I think that as we continue to talk, it will really bring a unique perspective because I'm the elder statesman in the room. My first film was The Empire Strikes Back, 1980. I was 4 years old. Mark is a few years younger than me, so he had a similar kind of VHS based experience seeing the films. Because I know, Mark, you've talked about it was your aunt would lend you a tape and you'd have to watch it and then bring it back, and so obviously we were reared on the OT, so that really brings our focus into that as far as how we view the umbrella of everything. But
Right.
getting the perspective of somebody who says, boy, the end of the sequel trilogy was my first taste and shaped everything that followed, I find that to be incredibly unique. I really do. So I'm excited to see what we get into here, without a doubt.
For sure.
So I have some questions on that actually. So you started with episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
What was your watch order after that? Were you instantly hooked and you wanted to go back and watch 1, 2, or did you jump in 4, 5, 6, 1, 2? Like how did you end up seeing them all? What was the process there?
There wasn't really a structure, because when you're a kid, you just watch Star Wars for cool action scenes. I mean, that's
Right.
what it was there for. So I remember just putting it on, like, I want to watch Obi-Wan versus Grievous or Obi-Wan versus Anakin, and
Yeah.
but of course I watched the other two, obviously, and it's funny because when I was a kid, I was like, I didn't really care for the originals. I didn't watch them. I thought they were boring.
Right.
Because I was a kid and I was like, there's
when you
not
start
cool
off
action
with an
scenes.
hour-long sword fight in
like
an active volcano, like
the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I had all the action figures, I had the lights, I had the posters, Battlefront 2. That's what Star Wars was to me. And so I did, I obviously liked and respected the OT because of the OT. But this is when I was like 5, 6 years old. Not until I was probably like 13 when I rewatched the original trilogy, and I really was like, oh my gosh, these are amazing. These changed cinema. Because you start to get older, you start to progress a little bit more maturely, and you actually like movies for the story and character development and stuff.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's kind of where what kind of brought me on what Star Wars is cool action scenes, and my narrative to that has completely flipped as time has gone on. But believe me, I still love those action scenes.
Absolutely.
I swing my lightsaber around every night in the living room, like an idiot. So
I hear that.
I did. You know what? I was talking with my wife on the weekend, and I said, for the next time we buy a house, we need something with high ceilings. And she's like, "Oh, bigger Christmas tree." I was like, "Nah, fucking swinging my lightsaber."
Yeah, right. And when your boy gets of age, him swinging around his lightsaber.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Smart.
I mean, that's just gonna happen, right? I mean, we'll build him like a cheaper kind of lightsaber that I don't mind. But once he gets a little older, that he can respect it, we're heading down to Galaxy's Edge. He's gonna build something real good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it will be the rite of passage. Awesome.
That's it. So what's your preferred watch order right now?
Because I've introduced Star Wars to some people I know in real life, and I've always said start out with Episode 7. Because
Okay.
Episode 7 to me feels like the pinnacle, not just of what makes Star Wars great, but in terms of the overall story. it's such an interesting place to start. You see this man on this island, you see the like kind of legacy of the original trilogy. You get like all these story aspects on what it concluded to, but you don't know what the story is. So I always say watch episode 7, watch episode 4, then watch the prequels.
I
So you
like
watch
it.
episode 4, you
Okay.
hear about these things like the Clone Wars, and then you see it. And then you watch 5, 6, 8, 9. Because
I
the
love it.
sequels are basically you've got
Wow.
these new characters, but you have the legacy of the original heroes. And I'd even
I
argue
like
a
it.
lot of what the prequels happened, especially with how Luke talks about it in The Last Jedi.
Mhm.
So
Mhm,
that's my
mhm.
always like when people were like, I'm gonna watch Star Wars. In fact, there's someone that I'm good friends with at the gym. He's older guy. This guy's probably 60. And I had him watch it in that order. I said, this is going to be a really interesting order, and I want to see what your thoughts are on it, because it's like you get all this exposition and stuff, and
Mhm.
but you don't know what it is exactly. So it's going to bring you in. You're like, what is the Clone Wars? What is this? Who is Luke Skywalker? What's this guy about? Why is he on this island? So that's my preferred watch order now.
I like
Right.
it because that's giving me
Yes,
like
I-
similar vibes to that order that I talked about a few episodes ago, which was, but I started with episode 4, so you see kind of that because I like starting with the original,
Right.
Mhm.
but then it was what did I say? It was like you start with episode 4, then you go back and watch Rogue One, then you do oh shit, my order is all over the place, but it
Yeah,
was something.
I would almost
Oh,
picture.
then you watch Empire, then you go back and watch 1, 2, 3 because you
Right.
see the I am your father, and then you see
Right,
how did
right.
his father
Right.
turn into this. So you go
Right.
back, and then after
Rogue
watching
One, yeah. Rogue
7,
One,
it was watching
4, 5, 1, 2, 3,
yeah
6, and then forward.
6, and
Yeah.
then
Well, what about
once you
Solo?
watch 7, once you watch 7 and you see Han Solo die, then you go back and watch Solo because it's all of this
Oh.
this
Yeah.
like something
Right.
happens, and then you go back and see more story
Right.
about who that
Right.
person was before it happened. So it was very like similar thoughts of like
Right.
hearing this and then seeing something, hearing
Mhm.
something and then or like seeing something end and then going back to watch how it started. Very like kind of similar vibes. I like your order, man. I might try that.
Yeah, it's always
That's
something
pretty
I've
cool.
always loved, and I'm always pushing for people to watch it in that way, especially new Star Wars fans, because I think it's the best way to kind of get your foot in the door and be intrigued,
Mhm.
be pulled in by that first movie. And I think The Force Awakens does that perfectly.
That's great. That's awesome. What's your favorite movie? I'm guessing maybe Force Awakens, but I don't want to talk for you. What's your favorite movie overall?
It's actually became episode 9, and I know
Okay.
that's the biggest hot take in the world, but it really genuinely has. Like, I love that movie. Yes, I know it's got plenty of flaws, and there's definitely things I would change about it. But and this could be because it's still kind of new. But I've already seen it more times than any other Star Wars movie, more times than Revenge of the Sith, and it's only been out for a year and a half.
Mhm.
I mean, I could go on about the character development, the arcs, the story, the narratives, the themes. I could go on about it. I just love the movie. No movie pulls me in and is as intriguing as that movie to me. And it just feels so. The movie's just wild. It
Mhm.
just does what it wants, and I know that can be a bad thing a lot, and it definitely is at some points. But overall, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It reminds me more so of Revenge of the Sith in so many ways. Yes, Revenge of the Sith, it's got a lot of plot problems and character development problems, but this is George Lucas. Revenge of the Sith was George Lucas saying, "Screw it, we're doing this, we're going all out." And so with Rise of Skywalker, with how J.J. Abrams and Terrio talk about it,
Mm.
they just do these things that are like, this needs to happen, and here's why.
Yeah.
Like, we can expand on it later.
Yeah.
And so I think for that, and it's just a fun movie overall. It's
Mhm.
just so rewatchable. And yeah, definitely my favorite. Yeah.
Excellent. Last question before we move on to some Bad Batch stuff. What you said you didn't expect when you were watching the Star Wars movies, when you were a kid or whatever, to be making content. What triggered this desire to make some content?
It was actually the new Battlefront 2 game.
Okay.
It was such a weird moment. It was almost like a fate kind of feeling, like, oh my gosh, something's pulling me to do this. I know that sounds, cliche, but really, like, it was. And I don't know how I remember this so much, because I love Battlefront 2, the new one. It's my favorite Star Wars game, and because I have my other channel, and I was just sitting there. I know the exact time. It was 8:00 at night, and I was like, I want to make videos on Battlefront. And so that night, I drove over to Best Buy like 30 minutes before they closed. Bought some cheap blue snowball microphone, the horrible kind.
That's how I started off podcasting.
Yeah,
That exact mic.
and I was like, screw it, we're doing this. And my videos were horribly made, and but I love it so much because I like going back and watching them and just kind of see where you've come from and how far you've come. But yeah, it was Battlefront 2. It's like I just love that game. I had so much to say about it, and to my surprise, I was actually able to make somewhat of an impact on the content that got into the game and the sort of community. So it was really fun to get in touch with the developers over there, and it's like
Amazing.
Again, it goes back to that childhood thing. This was just like 3 years ago when I started, 2.5, 3 years ago, and it's like back then I never would have thought that it would have come to this where we are now. And so it's something that's like, it's a cliche.
It's come to this.
Yeah. I'm spending way too much money on crap. No.
That's awesome, man. That's really good to hear. I love
Nice.
hearing about that passion and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's really, we're going to have you over on Co-op Mode, our video game podcast. Charlie's a little bit video game averse. So
I play the Lego games, and literally that's it. When I was waiting on this lag, I'm replaying Lego Avengers right now, so I'm character building right now. So, but that's all that's ever sucked me in when it comes to video games.
Yeah. So when we really wanted to get into video games, Todd, or another co-host, and myself, we have Co-op Mode. That's our video game specific podcast on the Secret Friends Network. So we'd love to have you over there sometime if you want to really dive into some video games. Cool.
Yeah, let me know.
But for right now, let's dive into some more Bad Batch. We've been doing the play-by-plays every 2 weeks. So we've got 2 episodes to go over. Let's start with Battle Scars, episode 7. Charlie, let's start with you. What did you think of Battle Stars?
We're snagging another. All of these are very episodic. We're kind of moving the season forward, and again, I think we're falling into this. Just feels like I've described it to many people at this point as this is the Mandalorian with a less cute kid. You know what I mean? Because we've got Omega in that beautiful Kiwi dialect of hers, kind of moving the ball forward. But in this episode, we get Captain Rex back, and he's talking about something that has been in play for several episodes now, but kind of one of these, like, everybody's got that relative that just won't go to the doctor, like, I've got this horrible headache, but I'm fine. No, I'm good. I'm good. Leave me alone. And what's going on is that with Wrecker, obviously his chip is starting to reassert itself. And he's, steps away from finally succumbing to Order 66 and killing all the rest of his all their cohorts. So we really don't want that to happen. But what Rex comes in is that, again, in kind of classic Mandalorian parlance, like, hey, we got to do this mission and we got to do this dangerous thing, but we got to go and find a decommissioned rebel cruiser on this junk planet that's got a sick bay that it's just convoluted as a livelong day. And of course,
same planet that you start off in Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that part of it I understand, because
convoluted as it wants to be.
I know that's your favorite. I totally respect that. I do. But again, they go there, and it's a race against time, which of course they lose. It turns into a big firefight, but at the end of it, they're able to save him. Of course, get the chip removed, as we saw happen with Ahsoka and Rex in that very beautiful closing arc of the Clone Wars, which I just think was, again, to me, the pinnacle of animated Star Wars was that remaining 3-4 episode arc of the Clone Wars that we got last year. So I don't. Oh, sorry. You guys get me too late at night. You're killing me. So I just again, you got to kind of take it for what it is. It's a cartoon. It's geared towards the kids, but no new ground broke here. Didn't really blow my mind. Saw this coming a mile away, like 2 or 3 episodes back. I didn't really dig on it. I don't know. Mark, sounds like you had a little bit more of an affinity for it.
I did. I thought this episode was good, man. I loved seeing Rex again. Even though it was kind of hinted at, like you said, a couple of episodes ago, seeing Wrecker turn bad and be that kind of horror movie villain of, like, you don't know, is he going to be here? You think you're safe, you're hiding, and then it's like, there he is, ripping something apart. And it was hints of like Jason Voorhees plus the Hulk. It was just like, I thought it was good, man. I enjoyed it. Like I said, they brought you back to the same planet that Jedi Fallen Order started on. I liked seeing those same kind of outfits that we saw the Junkers in that game. So I don't know. I enjoyed this episode. It wasn't, I don't know if it was my favorite, but it was, I thought it was entertaining, and I thought it was starting at least to move some things forward and go in a kind of entertaining direction. Palpy, what'd you think?
I hate to say this, but I skipped that episode. I never got around to it. I've been so busy. I watched the recent episode yesterday.
Okay.
So I got a lot to say about that, but I know I obviously know what happens. I've read the synopsis and I've talked to many people about it, and so I have the idea of what happened in that episode. I just never got around to seeing it. But I like the ideas they go with it, especially with record and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish we get a little bit more of stuff like that overall within the show.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, kind of lacking. Again, kind of generic, not really moving the ball forward in a way that you think is significant. They're just kind of stumbling from, situation to situation with nothing clear in sight.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, when we get to the end of this next episode, we get a very familiar trope, absolutely dumped on us. So, Palps, you've watched episode 8. Did you want to jump into talking about that then?
Yeah, I've got a lot to say because I just watched it last night, like I said. And it's definitely my second favorite of the season, right next to episode 1. And it's interesting because watching it, I was like, this episode feels like it should have come right after episode 1.
Mm.
Like, obviously, there's some little things that you needed to set up, but overall, it's like, I think the biggest issue that's going to happen with this show is the fact that they're making it as long as it is. I mean, 16 episodes, that's a lot for a show that has become as simplistic as it has, which is what's disappointed me the most. But with this recent episode, I actually quite enjoyed it because it had some darkness to it. It actually developed these characters, actually progressed the story a little bit. Yeah, we got once more another cameo, which I'm worried about for the future of Star Wars. But it was still good, and I like what happened with Hunter, and of course Cad Bane and all that, and Omega. She's gone now, so what's gonna happen?
Mm-hmm.
It still just feels like it's a Mad Libs Mandalorian episode edition where they just kind of change. They have. I mean, like, there's so many episodes I've seen. I'm like, that happened in the Mandalorian. Where like they have the ship crash, you get attacked by something, you need to fix the ship, you need to go.
That's where I'm stuck too.
Yeah.
It's like
I just got fired as the co-host here, and I think Palpy's going to be taking over because you're just mirroring what Charlie's saying here.
Oh my god! Yeah. Just cut the check. The episode title is now Mad Libs Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So write that shit down right now.
Right. That's how it
going
feels,
in the notes.
though. I mean, even last week's episode, I was just like, this was a really good episode, but it was basically the Boba Fett episode kind of Mandalorian where our little cute little kid gets captured, and then it's like, we have to find her, and it's like, I've seen this before. I know they're not gonna kill Omega. Right. What I think the Mandalorian did well is look, Grogu is essential to the plot of the sequel trilogy. I mean, this guy is essential to the rise of Palpy's return and the creation of Snoke. I mean, yeah, it's not confirmed, but come on, if you watch anything about it, it's confirmed, and Favreau himself has said that he is building the show's exposition around the rise of the First Order. And so, but with Omega, it's like, I mean, like, what do you say about that? Like, yeah, she's a cute kid, we care about her, I like her, but what's her importance to the plot? Someone brought up yesterday in the Discord, they're like, look, you could take Omega out of this and nothing would change about the show. And I was like, I hate to admit it, but you're kind of right. So I'm hoping that now that they captured her, I'm hoping that there's an actual huge importance to why she exists, because what the theory is that she's a female clone, altered DNA and stuff, which again, you could go back
sensitive hints.
Yeah, you could say it's kind of the start of them trying to make that force sensitive being, which many years later would develop and grow into how Palpatine was able to make that clone frail body.
Right.
That's what I'm hoping.
That's and I've been saying that the whole time. I think I'm a little bit more optimistic than Charlie, but I've been saying that the whole time is I think by the end of this, we're going to see some broader picture of how this fits into the universe and what the purpose of it is, and what is the purpose of Omega. How does the Bad Batch fit into the narrative, whether it's developing the rebels or doing something that makes an impact on some part of the universe. It's interesting to see how this is going to end up, because realistically, I mean, this, if there was something of vast importance that happened here, it should be tying into the original trilogy, just based on this timeline. So, it's strange. Like, can it have a big impact with the timeline and how much we know about what happens afterwards? And it was the same problem I had with kind of, with Jedi Fallen Order. It was like, okay, well, if there's another Jedi out there, why wasn't he interacting with Luke? Why he survived Order 66, right. and then what? Like, why does this matter, right? So, similar to the end of that game, which I absolutely loved, and they had some stuff happen that made sense in the narrative, and kind of didn't affect building a new Jedi school that then was never heard of again or something like that. I'm really curious to see how they fit this into the overall narrative, and at the end, is it going to make sense, or are we just going to be like,
right, or
16 episodes well wasted?
Yeah. The big question is if, is this just like, oh, we're driving the car right off and right into a wall. So, is it gonna, are you gonna get off the highway onto the main road? That's something else that's gonna connect you to Solo, or it's gonna get something that canonically kind of falls in lockstep? Or is this gonna potentially give us something interesting that's non-canonical? I was having this great conversation. I was working a toy show over the weekend with some real heavy Star Wars friends, and we were talking about Shadows of the Empire and Dash Rendar and Jijor, and how those things have been kind of pulled back gently from the EU back into canon, and how that looks and how it's very gentle. And so will Bad Batch, because it's positioned kind of thusly, find ways to maybe pull things post episode 3 back into canon that have been exercised the way that so many things were during the Disney transition. So that's something that I'm the most interested in, is that how can you approach something interesting that previously existed? And because again, the EU, many people will tell you so much of it. I've heard the stats, 75% of it was garbage. It's not totally untrue, because a lot of that was Luke with 2 U's, and it was Luke. You know what I'm talking about. So much of it was totally junk. What can we pull from that? What can we cherry pick from the EU to drop back into canon that's going to make it worthwhile? So with any project really at all, but in particular within this time period, which the OT I really revere, because that's my childhood. What can they pull from that that's going to be significant and interesting to drop that back into existing canon with a project like this? So that's what I'm eagle eye for. That's what I'm really interested in seeing.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of brings us in to kind of the next topic, or the next section that we want to talk about. And this is kind of just, we figured we had Palpy on. Let's talk about something you're passionate about, which is where Star Wars can go. So, we have some hopes and dreams about where this show can go, but what else can they do? What's next for Star Wars? We're getting the Acolyte. That's one of the shows that's so far happening. It's not, what was the one that was just canceled officially, the
Rebel
thing,
the Rebel thingy, the Rebel I don't want to touch Cara Dune with the 10-foot pole show,
right? And I'm kind of sad that they didn't just pivot to another character. Like, why
Rangers?
can't you just Rangers.
No, that's still on.
No, that's the movie, isn't it?
No, you're talking about Rangers of the New Republic,
right? The show,
which would be the Kim's Convenience guy who we saw, and then potentially, and then bringing in the super duper toxic what's her butt, Gina Carano.
Yeah,
the person. No, that's still on 100%.
Really?
Oh yeah,
I thought that got canceled like a couple of weeks ago.
No. All that was said. That was that it's not in current development, which if you look at the timeline of when these things are kind of planned or rumored to be released, they just said it's not in current development, which again goes back to the controversy that happened. So I think I think they're simply switching some things around, and I'm
So
perfectly fine with that.
no
Yeah,
longer in active development. Okay, I'm seeing that start. Yeah, that
so
the
I
story
always
there.
looked at that, and it could be canceled. But like from that,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is just on a halt right now, just on hold
Okay.
till they get this stuff figured out. Then they're gonna restructure this. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah,
But
because
yeah,
I'm hoping they just kind of pivot. Like even like
hmm
I mean, it's not released yet. It's not like they 100% had to focus it around her. Like focus it
right.
on
Well,
anyone
who is
else.
she? She was on Alderaan.
Yeah.
Um she has a rebellion tattoo on her eye. That's about it.
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
she's not like some major important character. So it's when like
No.
I didn't care that much that she's gone, that Cara Dune's gone, because I mean I thought she was okay side supportive character, but I was like, I just want to see Mandalorian and Baby
Yeah,
Yoda.
right. Yeah, didn't really blow your socks off. Yeah, it was
No,
kind of
yeah.
hard to pull that because even Boba Fett. I mean, did you really feel that he pulled away from Grogu? I don't think so. He was another great side character in that story, but nobody was like. I mean, we just watched yesterday was Father's Day, and so I said to my wife, I said, "Babe, let's watch that last episode of The Mandalorian. That's the greatest Father's Day story I've ever seen.
Oh
It's
yeah.
spectacular." And again,
Mhm.
even watching that, and it's been 6 months since that was on. Even watching, Grogu and Din Djarin saying goodbye, I did tears in my eyes without a doubt. I mean,
Oh, it's sad. Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, I have sons myself, and I have some that I see, and I have some that I don't, and that really touches me. That really spoke to this part
hmm
right here. So,
Mhm.
yeah, the core of any story is how it touches you emotionally. I've learned certainly as I've gotten older and
Exactly.
gotten more appreciative of any kind of media is what does this speak to in my life? How does this make me feel, and why?
hmm
That's
Mhm.
how something resonates. I've really learned.
So what are you guys hoping while we're on shows? There was some news recently. Charlie, you were lucky to spot this just before we started recording. I'm glad you shared it in the Facebook group. I won't read the entire article. If you want to check it out, go check out the article in the Facebook group. It's but it's talking about the
And
Acolyte
and on Twitter, I
and on
always try
Twitter.
to double
Sorry,
share.
right? Okay, yes, we are getting better at sharing in multiple places. So Star Wars: The Acolyte, Leslie Headland, she's the showrunner. She's talking about the writers' room and how she's getting different voices in there. People who love Star Wars are big lifetime fans to people who never saw it and were like getting caught up before they started writing this show and were like, wait a second, Luke and Leia are brother and sister? What? And we were talking for a couple of seconds before we started recording and just like,
Oh
I
no.
think that's a good thing, you know, like bringing some fresh
Yeah.
voices,
No,
fresh perspectives. That's cool.
absolutely, and I will draw back to Palps. Just so you know, I'm I on this network. I run a Star Trek podcast. I'm a huge Star Trek guy. That's
Okay.
really my main. That's really my main drive. But I think about Star Trek. Star Trek had an 18-year dynasty of television between 1987 and 2005, where they were always on. They were almost always popular until they got to that last run where all the stories were kind of like the Bad Batch. It was SOS. It was SOSDD, same
Yeah.
old shit,
Yeah.
different day. It just got to be so samey. Like, here's a new set of characters, and let's do the same story again. That people just got wise. You had the same group of
Right.
people who were a part of it. The same people who were writing it. You had it was Rick Berman was the guy. It was the Rick Berman dynasty that he just ran the franchise right into the ground. And the series was off air. The franchise was off television for 12 years, which is almost a lifetime. It was as long as the original series was almost off before they had the cinematic universe of the film starting in 1979. So, in a lot of ways, kind of the same thing. So, the show when it was reinvented was dramatically different, entirely new creative team. They took the show out of filming in California for the first time. It's now filmed in Canada. It's very different. And it really intimidates the shit out of some people. They can't handle it. I love it. Because again, even I, as a diehard unconditional lover of that franchise, can say, if you keep doing the same thing, Mark, stop me. I'm going to use my same analogy. What am I going to say?
I don't want to spoil it. You say it so well.
If you have pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, how long is it going to be before you start to hate pizza?
There you go.
It's
We
it's
need
the
that on a
sameness.
shirt.
I did there. Well, we were talking about branching
Yeah.
out for our merchandise. I want my pizza on a shirt. I want my pizza on a shirt. There's the shirt.
Chili's
No,
pizza.
if you just keep doing the same old, same old, same old, even the diehards will eventually learn to hate it and just kind of tune it out. So you're right. Bringing in new voices and going 180 degrees and telling absolutely different stories is the only way to keep something alive. So this really is the way. This really is the only way.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about the mystery? So the Acolyte, for anyone that doesn't know, is going to be a mystery thriller that's going to take the audience into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. So we've seen this in comics, we've seen this in books. We have never seen the High Republic on film, TV, whatever. It doesn't matter. What do you guys think about the Acolyte going not only to that era, but also like dark side focused?
Mm-hmm.
Palpy, what are your hopes and dreams for this show?
It's my most intriguing show. It's the most the most excitement for it because of the fact that it's going to be new. It's going to be refreshing. At least I hope. I hope the main storylines aren't like they crash their ship and then oh, we got to fix it. But first, you need my
They've got a
help or
dark
whatever.
side baby that they need to.
Yeah, and the fact that they're bringing in people who are fresh off the bat, new Star Wars fans or weren't Star Wars fans beforehand, I think that's a good thing because they're going to see it in a different way that's not ran by nostalgia. And that's why I find a pretty huge problem that's been kind of coming up is it seems like you take out the cameos and replace them with someone new. How good is the episode still, or whatever it is? And so that's kind of my problem. The Acolyte, you can't really do that, and so that's why I mean, you got Yoda, but still, it's everything's fresh and new in it, and I'm just so excited. And Leslie even talked about politics and stuff, how she's really wanting to focus on the politics that George Lucas and the themes that he threw in there was especially that was real heavy and present, kind of in your face at the time was Revenge of the Sith. Was very very political, and he even copied almost line for line things that presidents is George Bush said I want to say. And so it's funny how she talked about in that same interview, I believe, how she's like, everyone gets so mad when you say that you're going to put some political themes and messages in this, but Star Wars has always, at the very core, had a very strong political theme going from the very beginning since it was made. And so I'm very happy that she's going to keep doing with whatever she believes in, and is putting that in the story, because to me that's what gives story character and structure, and it gives it uniqueness. Is when they take their personal feelings of the real world and expand upon it in this alternative universe, fake universe, and they can build upon that. And again, it's stuff like that. When she's saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see where she goes with this. It's a mystery thriller. What are the Acolyte? Who are the Acolytes under? A lot of people say Plagueis, which I would be perfectly fine with. Yes, it's a cameo. Yes, you could say a nostalgic character, but to me that makes complete sense. With the story, it's like, who are the Acolytes under? It'd be Plagueis, right? Like the big main Sith of that time. I mean, it's canon. So I can't wait for it. I can't wait to start learning more about what's going to be going on and how they're gonna do it.
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, the world building is something that I feel like we're lacking right now. With The Mandalorian was a high, and the Bad Batch in a lot of ways feels like a low, because it's like it's a retread. Are they simply trying to hit those same notes for a younger audience? But again, right now, we, the older audience, don't really have anything to enjoy. We've got another 6 months until we hit Boba Fett. Then we're going to see The Mandalorian season 3, and then we'll be on to this as well. So, older, younger set, it would make sense, and potentially will happen in time, that we will have corresponding content that younger people can enjoy, older people can enjoy, though it's eyes on for everybody right now. So yes, I would like to veer away from the animated content. Clone Wars for me really ran its course, and I hate to agree with Todd, our other co-host, Todd, my best friend, who he and I are always very loggerheads on other stuff. I can love and appreciate a lot of stuff. Todd is a lot more critical. But one thing I can absolutely agree with him about is that the Clone Wars has really run its course, but Disney keeps trying to build extra bridges for it and slap on a little extra and put some plywood under here and build it up this way and do this other thing. And just let it go. Let it end. Let's move on. Let's do some real story building, some real world building, some building within the timeline of an earlier area, or God forbid, a later era. Which, again, something Star Trek has really done dramatically is that they jumped their story forward in one of the current series by 1,000 years, and it's fascinating to see. Well, we had this very stable republic or Federation, and then 1,000 years from now, everything has fallen apart. Why has everything fallen apart? And that was the course of this entire season of the show, to figure out what that is and figure out how to start to fix it. And I thought that was fascinating. So at any rate, I find a way to suck Star Trek back into every episode of the show, and I know
really do.
So I'm sure some people really do hate it. So hit me up on Twitter at @VC3, and you can tell me all about it.
Yes, but that does lead me into one last kind of question I have is, Palpy, what we know some shows that are introduced or that are announced, they're in development. We haven't really heard too much on the film side of things, aside from Patty Jenkins, the X-Wing fighter movie that name is escaping me right now.
Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron. Thank you. I'm glad someone's prepared for this Star Trek show that we do every 2 weeks, or Star Wars shows. Charlie, you have me so thrown off, and I'm running on 3 hours of sleep. There we go. But anyway, where else do you want them to go with, whether it's movies, TV, whatever it is? What's your dream perfect scenario for the future of Star Trek or Star Wars? Jesus, I did it again. This might have had too much rum in it.
Yeah, for me and my channel, we're all, like I said at the beginning, we're all a bunch of Rey simps. How can you not be? It's Rey. But something we think, and I know a lot of people disagree, but for us, we can really see a huge future in some post Rise of Skywalker content, specifically with Rey and Finn.
Yes.
One thing I love about the Rise of Skywalker, yes, throughout the sequel trilogy, I was so disappointed on the lack of Finn and the lack of arc, I would say, for Finn. But I do appreciate about the Rise of Skywalker is they at least set a lot up for the potential for him to be fulfilled with that arc. And we've got John Boyega saying, yeah, I'd come back as long as under, like, maybe J.J. Abrams, Kathleen Kennedy and stuff. Which is funny because the narrative that a bunch of YouTubers always throw around is he hates Kathleen Kennedy,
right,
and J.J. Abrams, and it's like, no, it's
he specifically
the complete opposite.
Mentioned,
he dislikes the Disney enterprise. He dislikes how Disney brings their foot in the door when it comes to these creators, and I agree. But I think there's just so much in the Rise of Skywalker set up, so much for Finn. Obviously, Force sensitive. A lot of people say, well, it's not confirmed, but no,
yes, it was.
It's everything that he does.
Freaking director.
It's a feeling. Yeah, by J.J. Abrams himself. He said, no, yeah, that's what we wanted to say. We wanted to keep it like it made you think, have to think about it after it, which I like because that's always fun. Be like, oh, what was Finn gonna say? I'm like, oh, okay. Then he felt Rey's death, and then he did this, blah 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 blah. When he talked to Jannah, I was like, okay, wow, this guy's a Force sensitive. And so I think what would be really cool is Rey. She's completed her arc of finding where she belongs and accepting her past while moving on with her own future. Adopting the Skywalker name, respecting her masters, and really the legend that she grew up with. It's cool because she kind of became that legend. You even see that in a physical way where she's literally in Red 5 wearing Luke Skywalker's helmet, and when in the beginning she's like, Luke Skywalker, I thought he was a myth. So like we're past that phase, right? She's her own, she's her new person now. She's like, my past, I've learned it, I'm not going to let it get to me anymore. Be really interesting to see the galaxy's perspective of this, because maybe she does become kind of a big person around. She's already the last hope, as she called in the Rise of Skywalker by Jannah, and so it's very clear, and they made it very evident that Rey is a very famous person within the galaxy. She's becoming that legend. The question is, can the galaxy handle her past as she was able to, and can she handle the way the galaxy treats her? And so I don't know exactly how you could do that, but maybe she has some political power. Not necessarily like she's on the Senate or anything, but maybe she does have some representation. Maybe she's trying to rebuild what was broken off in Coruscant. And of course that'd be a huge stretch, but it's like, it depends on when you take this. You can do this in a very small way or a very large way, all while she's attempting to train Finn, because Rey's a very clear, self-evident self-trainer. She has to be, based on her experiences and how she's grown up as a nobody alone her whole life. But the question is, once again, can she properly train Finn? Can she train him in the ways? And I think that could be something that really builds some character development and structure.
I think they answered that. I think they answered that very subtly, but again, in that very J.J. Abrams way. She's rocking a yellow lightsaber.
Heck yeah, she's on our new adventure.
And the yellow lightsaber is reserved for the knowledge keepers, the Jedi Temple Guard. You know,
Right.
we don't see that in the field Jedi. We see that of the people that are protecting knowledge and that are ready to put themselves on the line to protect that knowledge. And
Right.
that's Rey. She has the book, she has the knowledge, she has the text, she has the connection to all of the Jedi. She is all of
Yeah.
the Jedi.
Best scene in the movie, best
If
scene in the saga.
if anyone can train Finn or the next generation, it's her. She has a
Right,
yellow
right.
lightsaber for a reason, and I think that's them saying like, "Don't worry, you know, what subtle as it might be, that yellow lightsaber flick there, it's
Where
behind you." But it's you know, to me, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, okay, the
Hope, I'd
force is
say, yeah.
safe with her.
where did you
Exactly.
and maybe I've missed this and I hope I haven't. Where did she get the crystal?
There's a lot of theories, and I have my own
Yeah.
theory. So it's cool because this saber's dead, so I can't show it. But if you slow the frames down, and this was I've talked to I forgot this guy's name, Mike, maybe very famous, one of the most famous concept artists for Star Wars. I forgot his name, but most people know him. He's huge on Twitter.
Oh shoot,
And
I follow that
they
dude too.
yeah, yeah.
He has
Pretty
great
cool
stuff on
guy.
Instagram. Is where I
Oh
follow him.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
But if you watch the
Shit,
movie,
what's his name? I'm using my I'm using my
I know
phone
I
as a
always
webcam right now, and I
I
can't
know
look him
I'm
up.
looking
It's
up,
driving
but
me
I
crazy. Sorry. Okay, keep going.
anyways, yeah, if you watch the movie, and it's cool, I was going to show this light on the lightsaber because the lightsaber does the same thing. It actually goes from green to blue to yellow.
Yep.
You can see it through the little windows of the emitter there, and that's in the movie. And so the theory is, and the concept artist actually confirmed that this was an idea that they worked on. He actually built a 3D render and an actual animation of how that would work, where it has two crystals in it, a green and blue. So a lot of people say that she took, okay, so Luke Skywalker still had his green saber on Noct 2 over there. So
Hmm.
she took his green saber crystal. She took the blue crystal from the Anakin or Luke saber, and she put it into one. That's just a theory, though. There's nothing confirmed, but what is confirmed is there's two colors being merged to one color
Right.
in that saber right there.
Interesting.
And
That is
so,
interesting.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, so she's got the old Jedi texts. Maybe this was something that was written in that is how to make a multicolored lightsaber,
Hmm.
which would be pretty awesome. And we know that the kyber crystals have meaning and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe those two crystals, they have two different meanings, but they blend into her, whatever her, crystals are attached to the force user and whatnot. That's why lightsabers have different sound based
That's
off
nuts.
of who's holding it and whatnot. So we don't know for sure exactly, but there's definitely the evidence and theories that very well could be backed up by what we see.
Well, I don't want to say too much, but we know someone else who is destined to have two lightsaber crystals, a green and a blue. This guy right here.
Yeah,
Yeah, my now mine's not quite as mysterious. My Galaxy's Edge lightsaber build got royally effed up twice during the build process. So I chose the green one, and afterwards, one of the Disney cast members came up and was like, "Sorry, that got so effed up that you paid $200 for something that really got royally screwed a couple of times." Not that it like turned me off. Like I still suggest that to anyone, but they were like, pick another color, and I was bouncing back between green and blue anyway.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, give me that blue, thank you. So I walked out of there with two crystals. I was the only person to walk out
That's
with two
awesome.
crystals for that build. But I guess that makes me a keeper of the
Maybe that happened to Ray. Maybe she was over at
maybe that's
what's
it.
that
Yeah.
planet on? Maybe
Batu.
her saber build. Yeah, Batu. Maybe she got
Yeah.
it screwed up and the
Well,
person
that
that
see,
just take two crystals.
so that is an interesting bit because Batu's supposed to be in canon. There's a book written on that. It
Right.
ties into some of the other stuff. That Vimerati was in. What's her name? Captain the Phasma novels. So it ties in to stuff that's in canon. So if Savi's workshop and the scrap collectors are an actual thing, and Rey is in Galaxy's Edge, so she stopped there at some point and knows that that's a place where yes, they've collected these Jedi and Sith artifacts from as far back as the Old Republic. If the lightsabers are in canon as well, because there are Old Republic style pieces of scrap metal that you build there. So that actually could be a theory where she kind of
Right.
went to Savi and said like, "Hey, have you found any crystals?
That'd be
Like, have you
interesting.
found
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
there? Or like even Doc Ondar, who trades in rare antiquities and stuff. Like, if these places in Disney World are in fact in canon, like they're written in the novels and stuff, like Ray might have a place to go and be like, what kind of interesting shit have you found, Savi? Like, can I get some scrap metal? Now that the New Order's not really stomping through there, maybe they don't have to be as hidden with it. I mean, if you go to Disney World, canonically, when you're there, you're in between. I think it's episodes 7 and 8. I think is where that every single day it's like Groundhog Day. They're reliving that kind of same period, which is interesting. Because they tie in everything. But we had Dano on the channel from the Dano channel on YouTube. We had him on the show not too long ago, and he talked about like how they're potentially going to be working Mando into that and like kind of using the world in between, or the world between worlds or whatever from the from Rebels to do some weird kind of stuff that way, or a time jump from that we're going to see in season 3 of Mandalorian. There's a few different ways that but basically, like he said, one of their end goals is to be able to use Mando in Galaxy's Edge, and I was just like, shit. Okay, sure.
I'm
like
all for it.
If that place is just like, I don't know, like the real world's affecting canon and canon's affecting real way. It's
really like
it's some weird stuff, man. But like that's a potential, I guess, for Rey to find her lightsaber crystal there. Cool. Well, let's wrap it up there, fellas. If you guys are good at that,
Indeed.
I think this has been pretty fun. But Palpy, I think we'll have to get you back because I think there's a whole lot more we can talk about.
Sure. I've got so much to talk about. It's
awesome.
That's all my life's about. So
I know. And I love it. Like I said, a very unique perspective. You get somebody who's coming from the point of starting their engagement, in the 2000s, which is not that is not Mark and I, and that is not the vast majority of the older crust of us that are talking about Star Wars. So I find that well, we're not boomers, but I'm a Gen Xer. I'm a Gen Xer. Mark,
30 to me is a boomer. I'm sorry.
Oh man, you have much to learn, young one. But at
I
any
think
rate,
I still count as millennial, don't I? Like 30,
you are a
36?
millennial. I'm a Gen Z.
Yeah.
36,
Well, you were born in the 80s. I think that makes you a millennial. The far end of that, So, but at any rate, so that then it comes around to my part. But no, do we need one more?
Yeah, I want people.
Please.
Palpy, tell people where is the best place that they can find you and your content.
So my biggest platforms are YouTube and Twitter. Either one of the two, because I'm always posting my content to Twitter and vice versa. But YouTube is my main kind of road right here. So I'm trying to really get my YouTube channel to go the direction I'm wanting to go. So my YouTube name is simply Palpamemes, _ Star Wars. That name might change, might cut off the - Star Wars part, but for now it's just Palpamemes - Star Wars. It's a nice old Jedi Order logo with a galaxy swirl in it. You'll know it. And if you're interested in some sequel content, or maybe you don't like the sequels, but you want to hear a perspective on someone like me who absolutely loves these films and sees them for what they are, and maybe if you want to get a different perspective, then head over onto that channel.
It's a great channel.
Right.
Definitely go follow it on. One last thing before we go. How'd you come up with the name Palpamemes?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It was so long ago. It was it decided to do some Battlefront thing, but like years ago. I mean, like 5-6 years ago. So that's my answer, genuinely.
That works.
Long ago, far away.
Yeah, it's an old tale. Make up your own theories.
Charlie, tell people where they can find us.
All the theories. Oh my goodness. Well, friends, thank you as always for joining us. We are, of course, part of the Secret Friends Unite network. You are listening to the Holocron Chronicles. We're talking Star Wars every couple weeks. Co-op mode, that's Mark plus Todd Oxtra, my best buddy, talking about video games. And then Code 47, that's Star Wars myself. And Rich and Aaron talking about Star Trek.
You just did it too,
every other week.
Star Trek.
Jeez. Good. Then we're canceled out. Every Friday since 2014, the Secret Friends Unite podcast talks about geek culture in general. Your guide to the geek side, that would be Todd and myself. All of our content can be found on our brand spanking new website created by Mark. Thank you, Mark. He's our guy. Home to all the podcast, great original content, and other fun stuff. Secretfriendsunite.com. Find us over on Twitter at Secret Friends U. I am myself personally the C3 at Twitter, and Mark, you are
_Canardian. I forgot that you changed that. I'm gonna have to make sure that I change your Twitter handle in the show notes as well when I'm linking things through for sure. And one last thing for the website too, we're looking for other contributors. We're pumping out a whole bunch more written content, whether it's news, reviews, op-ed pieces like the one Charlie just had about comparing Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Star Trek, which I thought was an interesting read. But if you have any inclination to write something, pitch us your ideas, whether it's at Twitter or any other way to get a hold of us. Like I said, the _Canardian, the C3, Secret Friends U. Talk to us. Pitch some ideas. Yes. We'd love to have some more contributors on the website. So yeah. That's it. Sorry to cut you off there, Charlie.
That's okay. No, not at all. It's a common flow. Lastly, we do have a great merchandise store over at TeePublic. Obviously, Secret Friends Unite. Shirts, hoodies, stickers, magnets, coffee mugs, coffee tumblers, all kinds of great merchandise. Everything that you do is actually helping support the network, helping support the website, and our ability to bring you that great content. So please hop on there and support us, because we love doing what we do and we need you. So finally, I will say one more time, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
May the force be with you. Usually I say Rex play us out, but now that we're doing YouTube, we got flagged last time. So I don't know if I can even use the Rex music anymore. I'm depressed. He's my Galaxy's Edge DJ. So maybe Rex play us out. We're going to play around with some stuff. YouTube, stop sucking. Bye.